What I've done is I've taken a number of quotes from Paramahansa Yogananda, Neville Goddard, Joseph Murphy, and Charles Haanel to discuss one of the important concepts that I've been covering a lot lately on my channel, which is the power of thought or mentalism. The title of the discussion is The Universe is Mental. The idea behind it is the external world, the world that we live in, the world that a lot of times we are very closely identified with, is actually a projection from what is within. It is a reflection of what is going on within our mind, our mental conversations. It is a combination of how we believe reality to work. We're born into this world and we receive sensory input via our five senses. This information, along with meaning, goes into our subconscious mind, and our subconscious mind automatically projects it outward to create our reality. The people, environment, and circumstance in our life is a net result of the information that we have taken in, assimilated, and automatically projected out primarily via the subconscious mind. Now, when you discover this journey of personal development, one of the concepts you come across is the power of your subconscious mind, your ability to go into your subconscious mind and change your programming around. And if this work is done correctly, what you notice is that the external world starts to look different. It becomes more in alignment with that what you desire. Another thing you become very aware of is that a lot of the programming that was put into your mind that prevented you from seeing reality from the perspective that the universe is mental came from fears, doubts, and indecision-based stimulus meaning that was inputted via the five senses. And if you continue down this journey long enough and you remove more and more fears from your subconscious mind, you begin to connect to this deeper understanding that the subconscious mind is really going out and creating everything. What you'll find is that people will respond to you differently. Why? Because you're carrying yourself differently. You're projecting outwards differently. But is it the things you're doing, or is it what you are thinking? Is it what is going on in your mind that is projected outwards? Then you start to take it even further, and then you start to see that when you change the way you think about people, they change in front of you. Even some of the most adamant, persistent character traits in a person begin to change externally based on how you believe they are internally within you. And this is why Neville Goddard, and we've pulled some quotes for here, refers to the imagination as God. And one of the quotes that he says is, if you can picture in your mind's eye or your imagination a person to be that way, they will show up and transform in that way, absolutely, to the extent that you are self-persuaded in your mind that they are that way. Now, what is really happening? Are you changing them? Or is all really one mind? Is this all really one mind? Are we all sharing one universal mind? And why is it for an extended period of time did we believe that we are sharing individual minds, or we have our own individual mind and we're separate from each other? See, in the Kabbalion, we say everything is and isn't at the same time. So the truth is that, if you can hold it in your mind, is that we are separate minds and we are one mind. We're individuals and we are whole. We are part of the whole. The ability to grasp what I just said, that everything is and isn't at the same time, is going to be a net result of your ability to let go of fears, or to the extent that you have let go of fears, because what fears like to do is create categories that are really based on illusion to give us a false sense of security. Now, if you look at the 6 basic fears that were talked about in Think and Grow Rich, you'll see that those fears came from programming from our past, in our lifetime and generations. And we pass those fears along through our teachings, as well as even in our DNA, even in our structure, that fear was passed along. Because fear is so deeply rooted that it can be wired in our neurology. Now, why did we have this fear? One of the reasons why I believe we had fear is because we were at a lower level of consciousness, and as our consciousness started to rise up, we started to realize that we don't really need some of these fears anymore. And we began to release more and more fears. And now, where human consciousness is at an all-time high, we're starting to say that if we remove more and more of this fear-based thinking that's in our subconscious mind, something interesting starts to happen. We start to see reality from a whole different perspective. We start to realize the truth of what we're going to talk about here is that the universe really is mental, and that by releasing these fears that are in our subconscious mind, through the programming exercises, through affirmations, and doing the different personal development work on ourselves, we actually project outwards different meaning into the world, onto the screen of the space of variations, and it reveals to us a different world. Now, is this what Jesus meant when he said, "The kingdom of heaven is within you"? See, the word heaven really means harmony. That's what it means. And it is to be harmonious with the external world and within. Now, one of the things that I always talk about is to live in the spirit of harmony. So what does that mean? It means for the benefit of you, the benefit of those that you are involved with, and the benefit of divine or evolution, whatever way you want to look at it. If a person lives in the spirit of harmony, what they'll notice is that they'll have less and less fears, doubts, and indecision. Fears will start to go away, and their life will become harmonious. They will be very purposeful, and they will be very motivated and excited to move towards the vision of what they're creating, and they will enjoy the journey plus the destination, and they will benefit and work harmoniously with everybody that they interact with, and they know they will be doing something very purposeful. They go into a state of bliss, and this is what David Hawkins talks about in Power versus Force and Letting Go. In the higher states of consciousness, a person experiences bliss. Now, here's something very interesting. A person who gets into flow state, and if you haven't studied my work on flow, I recommend watching my videos, as well as watching the discussion I did on flow by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. When a person gets in flow, in that book, it's defined as where challenge meets skill, but I believe there's a lot more elements to flow. They actually release a neurotransmitter that binds to a THC receptor in the brain. Now, scientists had discovered this back in the days, I think it was in the early 80s, and they wondered why we had THC receptors in the brain. So those of you who are not familiar with THC receptors, marijuana or cannabis has CBD, THC, and THC binds to the receptors in the brain and creates the high that we experience, the blissful high and everything associated with getting high when it comes to marijuana. Well, when a person gets in flow, a neurotransmitter is released called anandamide. And this neurotransmitter actually binds to the THC receptor. So that for a while they were wondering, why do we have these THC receptors in the brain? A few years later, they discovered this molecule, or whatever it is, binding over to the THC receptor, and they gave it the name called anandamide. And anandamide comes from the Sanskrit word ananda, which means bliss. Now, this is some really deep stuff here. So one of the big emphasis that I put on daily, on myself and those that I work with, is to maintain a state of flow. It is when you are in the state of flow that you experience creative stimulus in your subconscious mind, hunches, inspiration. You tap into infinite intelligence and something called, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, the superconscious mind. So you have your conscious mind, and you have your subconscious mind, and you have your superconscious mind. The conscious mind is the thinking mind, and it's the guardian of the subconscious. The subconscious, as mentioned earlier, projects outward based on programming within the subconscious mind to create reality. Projects outward. You are predominantly what's in your subconscious mind. And then we have the superconscious mind, infinite intelligence. And by clearing out fears, doubts, and indecisions in the subconscious mind through programming, through personal development work, you get access to the superconscious mind. And the superconscious mind is actually also known as the universal mind, otherwise known as the mind of God. Now, when Neville Goddard talks about imagination being God and being able to work successfully with your imagination to manifest, one has to clear out fears, doubts, and indecision to work with the imagination to be able to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, as he talks about, to be able to materialize that what they desire. That is done by cleansing out fears, doubts, and indecision, and believing with absolute faith and conviction that that what you desire will manifest. And that what you desire will manifest comes from something even beyond what you consciously want. It's the soul's desire. And you are guided, and it is to be brought forth through, partially, and maybe even wholly, through the superconscious mind. See, there's a lot of things that you know and you don't know about this world. It's ludicrous to think that we know everything. We're just scratching the surface. I believe that only 1% of what is known exists within the 5 senses, and 99% exists within the 6 senses. But regardless of all this, this is all in your mind, and you have access to this via your mind. So let's talk about the universe being mental from the perspective of Yogananda, Neville Goddard, Joseph Murphy, and Charles Haanel. Charles Haanel says, "We cannot express powers that we do not possess. The only way by which we may secure possession of power is to become conscious of power, and we can never become conscious of power until we learn that all power is from within." So reflect back to what I said. All power is within. You have access to all power in the superconscious mind. And the connection from the superconscious mind is via your subconscious mind. That's working with the imagination. When you can imagine and you can visualize, and Napoleon Hill talks about this in the Invisible chapter, or the Invisible Council, I should say, which I discussed in the Secret chapter, which the last video I did, I recommend you watch it, in which he used to hold meetings in his mind. And he wasn't the first person to do this. There's been many individuals who visualize having meetings in their mind in which beings take on a life of their own and guide the individual. That is a manifestation of the superconscious mind. As you believe, so it shall be done unto you. It could be beings, it could be whatever. It could be a voice within. For me, it's a voice within. That is your ability to tap into the superconscious mind. And it's done by cleansing out fears, doubts, and indecision, and believing that it is possible, and having faith that it is so, and also reflecting back on your life to realize that it is so, because you have been guided before. You have seen the signs before. You have seen things in your life that go beyond any rational explanation, and you know that this is possible, but the question is, do you believe it? See, fears, doubts, and indecision-based thinking cause you to not believe this stuff, but I promise you this, when you embrace that it has happened and can happen again, it will happen again. And if you ask, you shall receive, and knock, and you shall find, and seek, it shall be opened unto you from within. As Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. All power is from within. So you've got your conscious mind, you've got your subconscious mind, and you've got superconscious mind, which created everything, infinite intelligence, and you have access to all that power within. And nobody can take it away from you. There is a world within, a world of thought, feeling, and power, of light and life and beauty, and although invisible, its forces are mighty. The world within is governed by the mind. Where we discover the world, we shall find the solution to every problem, the cause for every effect, and since the world within is subject to our control, the laws of power and possession are also within our control. The world without is a reflection of the world within. What appears without is what has been found within. See, if you look at everything that you see in the external world via our 5 senses, you can track it back to your thoughts and your imagination within. Now, you might have had sensory input from the external world, but that went within, and you're reformulating and reassigning meaning to it, a lot of times subconsciously and automatically, and projecting outwards to create maybe different or same experiences that what was programmed in your subconscious mind, either knowingly or unknowingly. The world without is a reflection of the world within. What appears without has been found within. In the world within may be found infinite wisdom, infinite power, and an infinite supply of all that is necessary, waiting for unfoldment, development, and expression. If we recognize these potentialities in the world within, they will take form in the world without. Now that's a key distinction right there. It says it right there very clearly. If we recognize these potentialities in the world within, they will take form in the world without. See, you have to believe that this is possible. If you have fears and doubts and uncertainty about this being possible, it won't work for you. But because in our innate desire or our innate deep self, we are from the superconscious, it exists within you. And somewhere, somehow, there's this little voice within you that says, Perhaps this is the way it is. And soon as you nurture that voice, as soon as you recognize that voice, you see a sign. You'll see it in the external world. And when you honor what you see, and you realize that this is, wait a second, based on 5 sensory input and meaning from others, I don't find any proof from others. Or maybe you watch a video like this or connect with others and you do find proof. Because as mentioned, 99% is within the 6th sense and only 1% is within the 5 senses. Most people in this world live through the 5 senses and they believe that that's all that exists. That's why Steve Jobs said in his commencement speech, don't let the noise of other people's opinions drown out your inner voice. Now, if someone like Steve Jobs said something like that, and he was able to create a lot of success, and he wasn't the only one who says stuff like that. Those that are able to create success, if you allow yourself to be more open-minded around them, will reveal to you they're doing the same thing. A lot of times what you'll find is people who create a large, radical amount of success know these things. And if you're closed-minded and you want to go argue with them, they're not gonna reveal it to you because they don't want to waste their time and argue. They're not looking to create conflict. They're looking to keep continuing bringing forth that which is in the superconscious mind, because what you bring forth from the superconscious, you will be rewarded accordingly. Success, if that's what your desire is a net result of your service to others. And you can serve others based on what you've learned via your 5 senses. That's called the synthetic imagination. Or you can tap into your superconscious and work with the creative imagination to bring forth products, services, solutions to problems that serve others, and you will be rewarded greatly. And those that have a high level of success do it. And they might not consciously be able to explain this stuff to you like I do, because the success that I've created has been a net result of this, and I made it a study. I wanted to know what was going on within me that was allowing me to create what I create and within others. So I studied this for many years. And some will explain this to you and some won't. But if you go within and say, I am open, I am ready to accept, the information will be presented to you, and you'll realize that what is really happening is that this potentiality exists within all of us, and we've got to learn to honor that voice within. And if you live by the 5 sensory-based input and data, no matter how factual it is from other people's thinking, if it limits you, okay, I'm not saying it's not valid, I'm saying if it limits you, if it disempowers you, understand something, that you are breaking the connection between the subconscious and the superconscious. See, nothing should limit you. Everything should empower you and motivate you and move you forward. The soul is to express itself. You are expressing yourself from the beginning. Why is it that children express themselves so much? And why is it then when somebody adopts fear, doubt, and indecision-based thinking into their subconscious over the course of their life, they start to become stifled and stiff, and they start to look for approval and validation before they do something? They learn to trust other people's opinions, which don't really get them very far because they're making it about the external world. What we're saying is go within, find the answers within. Learn to express from the superconscious. The superconscious will flow over to the subconscious and express through thoughts, feelings, and actions. You will be moved into action. Harmony in the world within will be reflected in the world without by harmonious conditions, agreeable surroundings, and the best of everything. See, you have to first believe it's possible. If you doubt this, what I'm saying, then you will materialize doubt. No matter what you think, the universe is mental, you will bring it forth. If you're listening to what I'm saying and I'm saying, I doubt this, then you will materialize doubt. If you say, I 80% believe this and I 20% doubt it, then you will materialize 80% belief based on that and 20% doubt. The external world is absolutely a reflection of the internal world. And what we want to do is realize this very important truth, that most of this earth-based reality, this world that we live in right here, has been created by 5 senses. And what you're looking to do is bring forth the 6th sense, because that's where you're going to create the most value. That's where you're going to create the most benefit for others. And that's why Steve Jobs said that. There's no doubt that he was able to create it. Any one of these individuals who are talking about here did the same thing and talked to anybody. It's just that Charles Haanel, Joseph Murphy, Yogananda, Neville Goddard teach it. They have chosen to teach it. But there are many of those that have done this and continue to do this every day. In case you're wondering, how does somebody get a radical amount of success? This is how they do it. They might not be consciously aware, but this is how they do it. I have talked to many individuals who have created success in business, arts, sports, and they all do it to some degree. They might not consciously explain how they do it, but I was able to figure out through conversation with them that they are doing it. They tap into the superconscious. They remove the fears, doubts, indecisions from their subconscious mind. You talk to anybody that has a high level of success, and what you'll find is that they have a high degree of self-confidence. They trust themselves before they listen to the opinions of others. It's not to say that they don't listen to others, but they will make the ultimate decision within and express it outwards. That's what you'll notice. And I recommend watching that video I did on the self-confidence formula, because if you want to tap into the superconscious, you have to clear fears, doubts, and indecision from your subconscious. You have to do the work. You have to prevent that kind of information from going to your subconscious, because that's how you got programmed with it in the first place. And it was programmed through generations that way. Make a commitment that you're going to remove that kind of programming from going into your subconscious mind, and embrace doing the work to develop and cultivate a high level of self-confidence, which was covered in the self-confidence formula. I'll put a link in the description. So harmony in the world within will be reflected in the world without by harmonious conditions, agreeable surroundings, and the best of everything. Why? Because that's how you feel, and that's how you believe it is within. As you believe, so it shall be done unto you. It is the foundation of health and a necessary essential to all greatness, all power, all attainment, all achievement, and all success. As we become conscious of the wisdom in the world within, we mentally take possession of this wisdom, and by taking mental possession, we come out into actual possession of the power and wisdom necessary to bring into manifestation the essentials necessary for our most complete and harmonious development. So you have a purpose. You came down here with a purpose, and you are to find and live your purpose. And as you uncover more and more your vision, your purpose, the tools are given to you, the resources are given to you. You are to also, while you're doing this, recognize the importance of the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the superconscious. And you are to make them harmonious with each other, because it is through the harmoniousness of the conscious, the subconscious, and the superconscious that the creativity, the insights will be expressed through you. You will always be able to note if somebody, make this an observation. If you want to make this an exercise, and I recommend you do so, is to observe who is speaking consciously, who is speaking subconsciously, and who is speaking superconsciously, who is expressing consciously. In other words, they're very in their head and they're trying to control everything. Who is expressing subconsciously, they're in the flow and they're moving around, they're making moves and they're doing the right thing. And they might make mistakes, but they trust themselves and they're very flow-based. And then if you can find individuals like this, those that express superconsciously, okay, these are the ones that are exceptional at what they do. Their talents and what they do and how they do it is beyond what everybody else does, because most people, if they get really far, they'll get very subconscious. But few get superconscious. But I believe we're moving into a time where more and more individuals are going to become superconscious in their expression, in no matter what. In the arts, the sciences, business, whatever it is, more and more people are going to be more superconscious, because this kind of information is becoming more and more available, and individuals are embracing it because it resonates. And again, it goes beyond understanding of things that are five sensory based, but I promise you this, as sixth sense is brought forth into the world, so is understanding of the sixth sense. And a lot of things that are accepted nowadays used to be thought of as crazy back in the days, because there have been individuals who brought forth the sixth sense in many different shapes and forms, and then were able to teach it in a way where people understand and experience it themselves, and they're able to prove it accordingly. So Joseph Murphy, who wrote a very powerful book, one of my favorite books, The Power of the Subconscious Mind, puts a lot of emphasis on the subconscious mind. And if you haven't watched the couple videos that I did on it, I recommend you do so. He says, all of us have our own inner fears, beliefs, and opinions. These inner assumptions rule and govern our lives. A suggestion has no power in and of itself. Its power arises from the fact that you accept it mentally. See, people can say anything. You could read whatever you want, and people can present you whatever kind of information, and you have the power to accept it or reject it. Back in the days, you just maybe accepted it blindly. See, because nobody told you that you can actually consciously choose. Because for me, one of my litmus tests is this. If it empowers me, if I feel empowered by the information, then I will accept it, because I know it's in alignment with superconscious. If it is disempowering and I feel less than, or it brings me down, I will not accept it, because that's going to go into my subconscious mind and break my connection with superconscious. My goal in life is to continuously express superconscious. Now, this is one of the reasons why in my coaching, my consulting, and what I do with creating content, a lot of you have commented about how my performance and my ability has gotten better. It is a net result of doing these things that I'm talking to you about. I am not going to accept, and I choose not to accept, not from a place of force, but rather from a place of choice, embrace, and acceptance, and nurturing of my subconscious mind, and realizing that we're all connected via the superconscious. So why would I want to send nonsense over to anybody else? I choose not to accept it, and choose not to go out and project that information out there just because somebody told me that that's the way it is. I'm going to question that information, and I'm not going to allow it in there. And it's going to go into my subconscious mind, the positive information. The negative information won't program and will cease to exist. Superconscious will express itself, and what I do will be done well, and you have that power to do it as well. So again, remember this. A suggestion has no power in of itself. Its power arises from the fact that you accept it mentally, and you have a choice. You don't have to accept it. So you got your conscious mind and you got your superconscious mind. Let's talk about these a little bit. This is from Power of the Subconscious Mind. Your conscious mind is the watchman at the gate. Its chief function is to protect your subconscious mind from false impressions. You have the power to choose health and happiness. You could choose to be friendly, or you could choose to be unfriendly. You could choose to be cooperative, joyous, friendly, lovable, and the whole world will respond. Why? Because what goes into your subconscious mind via the conscious mind, what you allow in, will project outwards and materialize into form. This is the best way to develop a wonderful personality. So consciously choose the kind of information you're taking in, because that information is going and forming your identity. Now, if you haven't watched the video I did on the Robert Dilts model, I recommend that you watch it. They've got multiple layers, and these layers are very important. So you've got the vision, you've got the identity, you've got the values and beliefs, you've got the capability, you've got your behaviors, and you've got your environment. And the idea behind this is you want to make sure that this identity that's being formed, which is largely based on 5 sensory-based input, is in alignment with your vision. See, this is one of the powerful things about the Robert Dilts model. The vision is you. The vision is connected with the superconscious, which is the mind of God, and you are an element of that. You are a manifestation of God. And the identity, when in alignment with that vision, will help you realize this truth that I'm talking about. Some of you might have already realized this, and I hope that this is the case. The identity for most of us, if we don't have access to this information, if we haven't been doing this, is formed as a net result of other people's thinking. They told you were this way, you have to behave this way, they treat you a certain way, and you are expected to behave that way. That identity forms with you, and you automatically start to behave that way. And if it's not in alignment with your vision, you don't feel like yourself. The goal is to feel like yourself, to know yourself, to understand yourself, to embrace yourself, and to express yourself, which is from the superconscious. And the identity needs to be in alignment with that. Now, with the conscious mind, you can say, what is in alignment with my identity, which is my vision? And the feeling within will allow you to know the difference. Wisdom is knowing the difference. If it disempowers you, then it's not in alignment with your vision. If it empowers you, then it will. Now, as you incorporate the empowering information and you release the disempowering information, what you'll notice is you'll discover your true identity, and the false identity will fall away. Now, let's talk about the subconscious mind. Think good and good follows. Think evil and evil follows. You are what you think all day long, because you are a net result of the information that has gone in and programmed your subconscious mind. And now you have the power to choose, because the universe is mental. And what is in your mind, your imagination, what you think all day long, that mind is projecting outwards and creating a reality. And if it's not creating what you want, then it is inharmonious to your vision and that who you are. Whether the object of your faith is real or false, you will get results. Your subconscious mind responds to the thought in your mind. Look upon fate as the thought in your mind, and it will surface. The infinite intelligence within your subconscious mind can reveal to you everything you need to know at every moment of time and point of space, provided you are open-minded and receptive. So now, let's look at this in a grand summary of what I've covered so far, and let's move in a little deeper. So conscious mind, subconscious mind, and superconscious mind. For many years, probably, you were allowing information to go into your subconscious mind to tell you who you are. It was forming an identity. And if this information was not in alignment with your superconscious, your vision of who you are, then you feel discord, you feel disconnected, you feel negative, you don't feel positive, you don't have the self-confidence. This information is not you. And now you have a choice to release that information. You can make a commitment to yourself that you are no longer going to consume that information. You don't have to have that information go in, and it's called a mental diet. And I made a video on mental diets. I'll put a link in the description. Neville Goddard did a discussion on that. Cleanse your mind from disempowering information from going to your subconscious mind. Allow empowering information to go in, and you'll know the difference. And that will bring forth your true identity. Then, as your subconscious mind is clear, your consciousness will rise up. You'll move into a place of unconditional love. You'll experience more flow, and thus you will experience bliss. You'll even experience the release of the neurotransmitter and so forth. And that's the physiological explanation for that. All this stuff is in alignment: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And then what you will notice is hunches, inspiration, ideas will show up at conversations within. Exactly how I was talking about in the secret chapter, the last discussion I did. And you will follow that. See, that is the master key right there. That is the key to success. This is what we've been searching for right here. This is what I'm talking about right here. Charles Haanel put it, this quotes that I pulled from the book were actually from the master key system. And the goal is to cleanse the subconscious mind so it opens up the connection to infinite intelligence of the superconscious mind. And then also what you'll notice is the superconscious mind will also further go out and cleanse your subconscious mind. You will receive support from the superconscious. You will be brought forth awareness on different kinds of programming that's in the subconscious mind that does not serve you. Your behaviors will change. The way you look at reality will change. You will have a radical shift. Reality will look different, completely different. You will become the cause rather than being the effect. And because you assume and realize and hold it with absolute faith and conviction that you are the cause, you command and bring forth your mental powers, and it will be projected outwards to materialize form. And no one shall have power over you. What does Yogananda have to say about this? Superconsciousness, the pure, intuitive, all-seeing, ever-blissful consciousness of the soul, wherein one drops ego consciousness and realize his self as soul made in the image of God. See, when you cleanse your subconscious mind, you don't need fears, doubts, and indecisions. You will notice unconditional love and accepting of others. The ego will go away. You'll no longer want to focus on who is right. What will matter more to you is what is right. And if you want to understand this a little further, to grasp the concept, then I recommend the Power versus Force and Letting Go videos I did on David Hawkins' work. I'll put a link in the description. That's how you know you're tapping into superconscious. When you start to experience intuitive hunches, inspirations, you see everything as connected and everything as a manifestation of yourself. If you bring a person in front of you, positive and negative elements within them are projected out within from you, and you'll notice it. And when you change those elements within, they will change accordingly. Never do anything that taints your mind, he says. Wrong actions cause negative or evil mental vibrations that are reflected in your whole appearance and personality. Engage in those actions and thoughts that nurture the good qualities you want to have. Now, as mentioned, when you do enough work and you cleanse your subconscious mind, the superconscious will come in and project outwards, and then you pretty much are on autopilot after that. Your subconscious mind will continuously be cleansed. You will be on purpose, and nobody can sway you off purpose. Because at that point, the subconscious is receiving from the superconscious and is expressing outward. And any kind of sensory meaning that comes via the five senses as disempowering is automatically rejected. That is how you'll know when a person is on purpose and they're on a mission and they're moving forward. What you'll notice about them is they have a flow energy, they have a calm energy, and they're just moving forward, and there's nothing that you can do to take them off course because they will not allow that within their awareness. And you wouldn't even try with them, because if someone is going to try to stop you and you notice someone trying to stop you, then it exists within you to create someone and materialize them to try to stop you. And a person who's living within superconscious is not expressing that unless They have some elements within their subconscious that's still materializing that, but that's going to be in the process of being removed. When the consciousness is kept on God, you have no fears, and every obstacle will then be overcome by courage and faith. Now, we're going to get into discussion about God, but we're going to look at it from the perspective of Neville Goddard. So Neville Goddard believes that imagination is God. So even if you don't have this concept of God looking a certain way and you don't want to grasp the concept, then look at imagination as God, because the way I look at it is that imagination is the conversation with God, and it is through your imagination that you have the conversation with the superconscious. And we can all relate that we all have an imagination and work with the imagination, and this is where we get our sources and hunches and inspirations from. So when Yogananda says, when the consciousness is kept on God, you can say, keep your consciousness on imagination. So what does Neville have to say? He says, to reach a higher level of being, you must assume a higher concept of yourself. So for many years, you thought you were just this conscious mind. And then you evolved to say, well, I'm the conscious and the subconscious mind. And now I can change the programming via the subconscious mind. And then as you change the programming within your subconscious mind and you go to work on it, you are revealed that you are also superconscious mind, which is connected to everybody, the universal mind. And the universal mind is also connected to the subconscious mind of all people. And this is when the real power starts to happen. Say you want to create some success in your life or whatever, and you want to bring the help over to you. You want to attract the people. When you've cleansed your subconscious mind, you connect to superconscious, you find your purpose and your vision, and you put that out there to the superconscious and say, I imagine myself drawing these people in, or use the Neville Goddard style of working with your imagination, of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and you visualize and you imagine people helping you. They will show up, they will materialize, they will show up in form because they are having that same thought themselves. Now this may sound far out if you don't understand how this works, but it's all one imagination. And if you have the thought and it's in the spirit of harmony, they have the thought. They are also in the spirit of harmony, and they will be brought forth. This is how we communicate to each other via the subconscious. That's what Neville was talking about. To reach a higher level of being, you must assume a higher concept of yourself. So we can simplify that by saying, accept the conscious, the subconscious, and the superconscious. And by the way, as I'm saying this, understand something. These are conceptual models. Is my way the best way of explaining it? I don't believe so. It is a way of explaining it. But I'll tell you what, when it comes to how we explain things, we are predominantly living via the five senses because we live here on planet Earth. So we need models, we need labels to some degree, but in another degree, we let go of them. So as going back to what I said earlier, everything is and isn't at the same time. So I use these as mere descriptions and labels to get you to a state of consciousness and a state of vibration which you are feeling right now at this point of the video. And at this point of the conversation, you realize that there really is the conscious, the subconscious, and the superconscious, and you are right now at the higher level of being. Why? Because I do the same thing that Neville taught me to do, which is to imagine you being in the state that I desire you to be, which is through this video an expression from my superconscious to connect you via your conscious to subconscious to your superconscious. Imagination and faith are the secrets of creation. An awakened imagination works with a purpose. It creates and converses the desirable and transforms or destroys the undesirable. See, I've been a huge student of the work of personal development and spirituality and these great minds that I feel have contributed so much to the understanding of the truth that the universe is mental, that my current level of understanding is I really believe that we came from a perfect source and we projected out here on this planet to do a couple things, to bring forth the divine on this planet as a result of finding our purpose and living it. And then through that, we are supported and we're able to create everything that we want to create, plus bring forth. So in other words, the rewards that you want in life are yours. Nobody can take it away from you. What you want is yours. And when you align with your vision and you do the work, you create products and services and do whatever. It doesn't have to be products or services. Whatever it is that is your version of the work, you project outwards, and what you put out comes back to you. You receive it in your form of reward, and you do this over and over again. Then you start to work deeper and deeper between the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, the superconscious mind, and then you eventually get to a point where you teach others and you help others do the same, and this continues and continues and continues, and then when your time is done here, you are gone and you have completed your mission. That's what I believe. There's nothing more important than developing your imagination to transform your life from the inside world of your thoughts and feelings to the outside world of your results and manifestation. Now let's reflect upon that. The universe is mental. Everything is within your mind. Take the power back. Embrace the concept. It might not embrace it in the beginning, because I know I didn't. But I tell you this, over the weeks and months and years that have gone by since I first heard the concept, I embrace it even more. And as a result of embracing it even more, I'm creating in my reality more and more harmony than ever before, to levels that I never thought possible, to levels that I was never taught by anyone on how it's possible. Why? Because I listen to the voice within. I realize this stuff is fact to me, and I live it with fact. And I realize that more and more I can understand this further, and my mission right now is to share it with you, and you embrace it. And I've got countless people that have emailed me through my Instagram and YouTube channel and so forth that have proven this to be equation, and we're all in different stages of it. But the truth is this, is that when you accept that the universe is mental, and you accept it more and more, that's how you get access to the power. And fears, doubts, and indecision break that power. Look at any type of fear-based programming that exists via any of the 6 basic fears that were covered in Think and Grow Rich, which I'll pull them up right now. Fear of criticism, fear of poverty, fear of ill health, fear of loss of love of someone, fear of old age or death. Any fear-based information that you've been consuming or whatever breaks you away from the acceptance of the truth that the universe is mental. Now, to reflect upon that. That's what fear does. If fear is not there, you know that the universe is mental. When fear shows up, all of a sudden you don't believe the universe is mental anymore. That's something to ponder. If you want a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.